Hello everybody, and welcome to another tutorial on how to add the schedule. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the other tutorials, but this one will be focused on how to do the schedule. So similar to the other ones, I like to always have 3 items open. My Carib website tab, my SurveyMonkey, and the conference agenda that would be done in a PDF form or a Word form. So to start things off, like I've said in other tutorials, prior to adding anything, you will have been given access to log on to the Carib website with admin access. And same with the SurveyMonkey. You will have been given admin access to this information. So once you have that, you're going to log on to the Carib website. And like I've stated in other tutorials, there's what I'm referring to as the front side and the back side of the website. So the front side, which you're seeing here, is essentially what any of the attendees or people who are going to be visiting the site are going to see. So if you went to this website, this is what you're going to see. As far as the schedule goes, we have our tabs at the top, and this schedule is laid out exactly like how the agenda is laid out. So we have 3 days worth of conference. The first day is a workshop day, and then the second and the third day are different breakout sessions and different keynote speakers. So what you see on Wednesday, which is highlighted, you can see Workshop 1, REB Basics, who the speaker is, what their position is. They're associated with the University of Toronto in this particular case. And then we have other speakers who are also speaking at that workshop. And sometimes you'll find that during the schedule, there will be multiple people speaking. So let's get started. So again, this is the front side of the website. To go to the back end of the website, which is where we're going to do all of our editing and information uploading, we just click again on the top left corner, and this is bringing you to the back side. And so you can see all of these different tabs here on the dashboard. As you scroll down, and all of these things mean something. So we're going to start off with pages. So in order to have those, we'll call them categories or pages at the top of our website, each one of these has to be made individual. So home, schedule, speakers, logistics, explore Winnipeg, news, etc. So let's just take a look at that. So going back into the back side of the website, let's go to a pages. And this is where you're going to have to set up your schedule. So you would just name what kind of page you want. So this particular page will be called schedule. And then what we would do is we would choose how we want our content to display. So this will all make sense once we actually get into the schedule. There'll be a specific tutorial on how to set up pages, but I like to just start off with this so that you have an understanding of how that tab even got there. So let's go to session. Session and schedule are the same thing. We just happen to call it the schedule, but essentially it's you're setting up a session. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to show you how just to add a new session, and then we'll go into a session that already exists. Excuse me. So add a new session. So we would type in, say, test session. And then here, because in a previous tutorial, we talked about how you would add all the speakers. If we want to know, we want to assign a speaker who's going to be speaking at this test session. So we would go through our list of pre-entered speakers, and we would check whoever was going to be there. And there might be 1, there might be 2, there might even be 3 or more people speaking at this session. So we would add their names, and then we would add the start and end time of the conference. So I'm just going to do, I'm going to do a little demo here. So I'm going to go off of, let's say, our keynote here. So at 9 a.m. on Thursday, April 11th, we have the keynote Kleiderman, Erica Kleiderman. So let's just do this as a test. So we'll do test session, do keynote Erica Kleiderman. And you want to make sure you have spelling correctly. Yep. So let's find Erica in our list of people. I wish it was alphabetical, but unfortunately it isn't. It's how you've entered them. So there's Erica. Okay. And you want to, that's why I like to have these 3 items open, the website, SurveyMonkey, and the agenda, because it helps put checks and balances into place. So we can go, okay, so Erica's at 9. We always want to use 24-hour clock. And she's speaking until, and I can see that there's a refreshment break at 10:30. So she's speaking up until 10:30. And what day is she speaking on? So over here is your scheduled days. So she's speaking on Thursday the 11th. So we'll just click Thursday the 11th. And you can add any scheduled day. Now this is going to show up when there's a tutorial done on Pages, and that will explain how this is all set up in advance. So if you know on this particular schedule, you can see that there's no room assigned yet, but say we want to say Erica's going to be in room 101. So we would put room 101. Now, essentially, you might not have all this information up front, because when you're uploading into the website, you might be starting this, 3-4 months in advance. So you might not know the location or the room to which that speaker is speaking in until, like the week before, sort of thing. So you can come in here at any time and update that. So we have Erica Kleiderman. Now, in her SurveyMonkey, we would have typed in her name into the search box, Erica, and you'll have access to this ahead of time. You'll be given the user ID and password to get into SurveyMonkey. Carib uses SurveyMonkey for their speakers because it's essentially a storage repository for them to enter their information into. So there's the whatever 5 or 6 questions that the Carib folks will be asking each speaker, name, credentials, etc. Here's a picture. We talked about this in the previous speaker tutorial. That's how you would get their picture to download to upload. And this is the biography of this speaker, which we would have used when we added a speaker in another session. And this is the title of their session. So we would have just highlighted this. We would have put keynote Kleiderman. Obviously, this is just a test. And something, you could either put their name there, or you could just put the name of their actual, what they're speaking about, because their name will actually show up from this list here. As you can see, she's highlighted. And then they have a question here that's been asked of each speaker. Provide a brief summary of what your conference speech is about. So this is where you would just highlight this information and you would put it in down here. Now there may be times where, depending on how your Carib contact wants this set up, we've had it set up where we might have keywords. So we would type in keywords and we would put, whatever. I think this was, we could put ethical, so we could just put and your Carib contact will tell you, but say in this particular case, we'll say ethics, research, and I believe this person was speaking alongside something on, where was it here? Gene editing. Okay, so we could have that as another keyword, gene editing. So that a person, if they don't have time to read through the entire excerpt of what this session is about, they can skip down to the keywords and be like, oh, this is something to do with ethics research and gene editing. Perfect. So now we want to find out the other section of this is what kind of session are we talking about here? Because we want to assign a session to it. So this particular session is a keynote speaker, right? So we come over here, we see that it's a keynote speaker. So we would click on our keynote. This here is something that we could assign it to. So we could put keynote, and then because this is already actually entered into the system, we could assign it to this section here, but we won't be assigning it to anything because this is just a test to show you how to add a new session. And then once we had all of our information updated, we would simply just hit publish. I'm not going to hit publish. I'm going to hit save as draft because I don't really want this showing up on the website as of yet. So if I went back to my sessions, I would see that this is a test session, keynote, what it was talking, what the title of the keynote subject was. And I see here that it's in draft form. Whereas the other keynotes or the other sessions, you don't see them in a draft form because they're actually published onto the website already. So you could keep this here as a draft until you knew for sure, like, okay, this keynote's actually going to be speaking. Or if you're like, you come across a session that's now canceled, you would just trash that session and then it would be deleted. Now, if you go into the trash sessions, you can see that they're still there. So if you wanted to pull it back up, you could just restore it. So now just going to some of the other sessions, I just wanted to show you that we have a couple different things that are good things to make note of. When we want to, let's just take a look at the start breakout session. For a breakout session, because different days have different setups. So, for example, on the Friday, April 12th, this breakout session here, just going to go to this. Where are you? So this is Friday breakout session at 11:20. B2B. So see, you don't have anything assigned to this because what we wanted to do was we wanted to actually have a session that just showed that the breakouts were going to be taking place. So there's nobody assigned to this breakout session to B2B, and I'll show you what it looks like when you go to the schedule. So if we go to Friday, April 12th, and do you see here it says start breakout session B2A, and then start breakout session B2B. This empty placeholder, we'll call it, is just a way to break out the sessions so that they're just not continuously running on this page. So they don't have an end time, they just have a start time. So that's just a way that, we've done something very similar to registration and breakfast as well. It's just more of like a heading to separate the content on the page from when you're viewing it. So going back, because we did have our keynote speaker, Erica Kleiderman, who was speaking on that Thursday at 9 a.m., had we actually entered that information, even though we were just doing a demo, I'll show you what it looks like. So let's go to Thursday, April 11th. And here's our speaker. We can see she is starting at 9 because we entered that. She's a keynote. This is the title of her as a keynote speech. We remember when we click the check mark and we added her as this speaker, it automatically pulls her information. And this tells you what time she's speaking until. So she's speaking from 9 until 10:30, and this is just the excerpt of what she's speaking on. And you can see her keywords here are gene editing, CRISPR, research ethics, and governance. And you could click on any one of these speakers and see what their session was about. So maybe one other thing to talk about, and I'll just go back into the back side of the website, is when we're talking about different layouts. So one of the big things is that you're going to want to have this schedule in advance of building the website, because this is what you're going to be basing everything off of. Unfortunately, I can only sort by alphabetical order with sessions. It will not show me sessions by date and time. So you'll find that when you're going back and forth, don't think that these are in order of how they're actually listed on the website. This is just alphabetical order. So that's why you really need that schedule to help you add stuff and edit stuff. Well, I hope this was helpful, and there'll be other tutorials on other parts of the website. Thank you.